So I got a new question. How would you start off and introduce a newbie when asked to teach him or her portraits? So if somebody came to me asking to teach them portraits, I would start out actually with light. I wouldn't even start with posing or anything like that. In fact, I'm not a fan of posing. So I would start out with light. I would start out with what lights are, what reflectors are, which is a reflector. I would start out about why I use a light in front, a light in back to backlight me, why right now I'm not lighting the actual backdrop, why I'm using a reflector. I will talk about light modifiers and say why I use certain ones versus the others. I wouldn't get into the physics behind light, to the technical part behind light. To me, that's not something that I want to teach. I want to teach the creativity, why I do what I do, not why, the book says to do it certain ways or whatever. I'm not a college professor. I am not one who's going to teach the science behind light, the theory behind photography. I am going to teach the creativity. By the way, if you want to see why I use this exact lighting setup, click the link up there. But if somebody said to me, teach me portrait as a newbie, after lighting, I would then take the person out in the field with a model of some sort, and I will position the person depending on the situation and the scene and whatnot. I would not pose. I want somebody to be natural, so I will try to use language that will get them to be more natural on camera instead of actual posing. Now, I do recommend to learn a little bit about posing because see what works. For example, you don't want fingers to be in pockets. You don't want fingers to be hidden. You want hands to be nice and relaxed, right? If they're hidden, it looks a little funny. Stuff like that is important. There's stuff about headshots that's important. That sort of awkward pose, which is uncomfortable for the back and the neck and the shoulders, but they're powerful. So sometimes posing is important. So at times when needed, I will talk about positioning. I will also say to somebody who's a newbie who's looking to learn more about portrait photography, to watch a heck of a lot of YouTube videos. I would also say to actually take lighting classes, besides just watching videos, take lighting classes and retouching classes, because you need to know how to retouch a person in Photoshop or Lightroom or On1 or Luminar or whatever you're using. There are classes on lynda.com. There are classes at your local college. Anybody can take a photography class at a college, especially community college, without having to enroll full-time. There are also a lot of workshops that travel. So for example, if you're a portrait photographer, one of the best people that you can take classes from is someone like Tamara Lackey, or Lindsay Adler, or Joey Lawrence, also known as Joey L, or Zach Arias. There are so many fantastic photographers out there that can teach you everything there is to know about portrait photography. I am not one myself that teaches portrait photography. I do portrait photography, but I don't really teach portrait photography. I have taught headshot photography, and to me that's a little bit different than a full-blown portrait, because you really have to focus on one specific area of the body and worry about the lighting and the positioning of the person more than anything else. So what would I say to a newbie who wants to learn portrait photography? Find the best person in your area to learn it from, whether it's at a traditional college, whether it's something online, or whether it's from a photographer in the industry that travels and does in-person workshops in your area every so often. One of the best classes I ever took was from David Tejada, one of probably the more expensive workshops I took, but it was a 2-day workshop at Eastern State Penitentiary, and it was all on small strobes. The beautiful thing about this is that I learned a lot about lighting using small strobes, where typically I was used to using larger lights. So it sort of brought my system portable, because now I could use small strobes. So whenever I am out and about and not actually in my studio, I'm using Nikon SB800s and LumaPro LP180s. That's what I'm using currently, and they're very portable and they're very easy to work with, and it's because of David Tejada helping me figure out what I need to do with them. Thanks, David. So to me, that workshop really changed the way I thought about light. So to me, that was one of the better portrait workshops I could take. Again, it was less about posing and more about light. So find what's best for you and take the class. Invest in it because it can only help you in the future. Get your hands dirty. Get your hands on the lights. Don't put your hands on the model. Figure out how to pose, how to shape, how to direct your model. If you like this video, click the subscribe button below now. I publish new videos every Monday and Thursday whenever possible. You don't want to miss it.